Hello and welcome to the Strength Syndicate podcast, episode number 9, with myself, Shane Story, and my co-host, Lawrence King. How are you, Lawrence?
How's things, Shane? We're very excited today for our very special guest.
Yeah, we have a very special guest in the podcast today, Mr. Big Ben Craughwell. So Ben is a fellow Alps powerlifter. He is also an online physique transformation coach, and he's one of the strongest powerlifters in Ireland at the moment. A huge deadlift, is it over 350 kilos, Ben?
351 on a stiff bar, yeah. It was in the
Yeah.
gym.
Not too bad. Ben, tell the listeners who don't necessarily know who you are, just give them a little bit about yourself there.
Ben Craughwell. So career-wise, I just get lads jacked and shredded and improve their lifestyle, basically. And yeah, powerlifter. So that's what I do. 90% of my day revolves around that, just eating, sleeping, and annoying Bonnie when I have a bad lifting session. That's basically it. And soon to be dad in December, so that should be a weird transition.
Yeah, so you have a lot going on there then, especially with becoming a papa pretty soon.
Yeah.
So obviously, you didn't get to where you are now overnight, So what would be your kind of origin story? Where did it all start for you?
I joined the gym when I was 14. I joined with a friend because I was too of a bitch to basically go on my own. You know, where you have a accountability buddy or whatever the fuck. And then started getting ballsier with it and started transitioning into training on my own and all that kind of stuff. It was always bodybuilding at the beginning. My room was covered in Arnold Schwarzenegger posters, and parents didn't know what the fuck was going on. And every wall was just naked men. And then it just kind of transitioned away from that because I realized it was with bodybuilding, I was looking at lads that were 5'2", like Lee Priest and all those kind of heads, and I was like, okay, I'm 6'1", and I have fairly long, lanky frame. I'm not saying I can ever bodybuild, but it kind of a bit of an eye opener. And I just took to strength better because when I was 14, I deadlifted 140, and then I was 15, I deadlifted 180, and then each year it kept going up a plate, and that didn't keep happening, obviously, otherwise I'd be the world record holder now. But I just took to lifting better than I did looking like a bodybuilder. Even though I still want to do that still, look like a bodybuilder, but I don't know, just very black and white person, and it being a number to hit for me is far more kind of tangible growth rather than just kind of someone looking at me and be like, oh, he has a better bicep peak than this guy, and I can't change that, but I can get stronger and add weight to a bar. You know what I mean? So that's why I transitioned away from bodybuilding. So I still love that. I'm a bodybuilding fan of kind of classic era look, that kind of Greek god look, more so like Arnold Schwarzenegger golden era. Versus the kind of balloon monkeys nowadays. I'm not really a fan. I think it looks cool, but it's just wasn't for me. And then I got into powerlifting then. So I've been doing it for 14 years now, consistently. I go on the odd piss up holiday and shit like that, and cocaine and hookers and all that crap. For a couple of weeks, and then back to serious training again. But I just love that. My family always slagging me saying I have fucking autism and shit, saying that I love that routine and discipline and having shit every day, knowing what I'm doing the next day and stuff like that. It always just kind of, I have ADD, so it kind of keeps me in order, knowing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And reduces anxiety and shit. So that's why for me, it's actually easier to stick to a training plan and a diet than it is to just be chilling at home all day. You know what I mean?
Do you think the structure of powerlifting or something like that it was just something you were inevitably going to get involved in? Or do you think if you never found lifting, you'd just find another thing that would offer that kind of regimented lifestyle?
Well, yeah, I've a very addictive personality. So it's obviously you get a fucking rush when you hit a PB with lifting, or when you're shredded and you take a photo and you upload it and everyone gives you the praise of whoa, you have a six pack.
Yeah.
There's the dopamine response to that where it feels good.
Yeah.
So I come from a long line of people who had bad habits, we'll say.
Yeah.
If I went down that road, I would have been very good at it. So I tried to go towards something that wasn't destructive.
Yeah.
And contribute more and provide value for people, I hope, and have something proud to look back on. When you hit a PB or you look at a meet, you did something like that or whatever, all that work you put in, it's like a little project, you know what I mean? And I like to be able to reflect on that and have a bit of gratitude and shit and be fuck, we're actually building and building and building, So for me, it's
is there any kind of moment you look back on maybe in your teens, or even, I don't know, not so long ago, that you look as kind of the turning point for what really kind of brought you into the, I don't know, it's the power building lifestyle?
Yeah, like it was always kind of on and off. Like I'd hang around with bodybuilders who would take it seriously, but I really wasn't. Like I was getting like 4 hours of sleep before school and fucking around and eating chicken, like just as in like everything was just not tracked or any growth was actually happening. It was just Dorian Yates training to the death and then puking, thinking that that was how you grow.
Yeah.
And then I think I was on a holiday in America where I was like no money left and I was like emaciated, and you know, you're hungover every day, you feel like shit. Not rock bottom by any means. I was in America having fun. I was like, I don't like feeling like shit. This is bollocks. Like I had no money. All my money was spent. I had to get loans off everyone. Everything was out of order. And it kind of hit me that day where I was like, I need to get my fucking shit together.
Yeah.
And then I think I was bouncing at the time. Then I got into PT and I just kind of, it's like leveling up in a video game. It's the same thing. Just kind of level up and shit. Like, yeah.
It's kind of it's a very immersive experience, I think, when you go from that initial kind of, like you were saying, you were bouncing, you were peripherally involved, but then you kind of start PTing and it's like a switch, you just kind of fall down the rabbit hole. Like we're probably 3 prime examples of people that get into lifting young, and everything nearly they do is based around this unidimensional thing of lifting, and we probably wouldn't change it for
That's life.
So then, like, how do you feel like you've brought the lifting kind of more and more into your career? Because obviously you're a coach and you help out a lot of people. What was that progression? Was it something that happened naturally, or was it just like, okay, I think I can offer something to people? How did that work out?
Yeah, it was more kind of like I was in the gym training and like getting myself in shape and training my brother. I got him fucking jacked after like 6 months. And there was no supplements used there. It was just, he did very well. He was following me to a T. And I was kind of like, okay, I'm not actually half bad at this.
Yeah.
I fucking hated bouncing. I was like leaning on a wall, looking around, like, and I was looking at all my friends going to college and doing shit. And I was like, okay, I'm not doing anything here other than like fighting knackers every fucking like, that's a bit of fun, like, but like it gets old pretty quick.
Yeah.
And then I think I had one real bad fight one night and in there, and I was like, okay, like, because my boss was like, you're going to jail, like you're fucked. And I remember ringing my mom, like I was like a baby again. I was like, after being in a massive fight, and then ringing my mom, be like, I don't know what to do, like I'm fucked. I'm going to my boss and I'm going to jail, all this shit. And then that was my wake up call to be like, okay, cop the fuck on. And then I transitioned into what you love, is that like I love getting people results. And for me now, in-person PT wasn't for me, because like obviously you're going to attract people who don't actually love lifting as much as you do, or wanting to get in shape or whatever it is. Because for me, it's like I like the whole package of being as big, as jacked, and as strong as possible, not just strong or just shredded and weak. You know what I mean? I like everything combined. And I know how to get people shredded and get them in phenomenal shape. You know, I'm not a powerlifting coach now. I work with people in terms of what to do outside of the gym, because I have that shit dialed the fuck in. Like that's what I'm obsessed with, and I love that. I'm constantly trying to improve all the little areas, the jigsaw puzzle, until you have the big canvas done, you know. And that's kind of why I transitioned into PT, because I was like, okay, I know how to get people results, I can provide that value, and it does work, and I enjoy it, because you get a fucking rush, man. When you see someone get it before and after, it's the same as hitting the PB. It's like your little art project. And then you see that outcome, and you're like I know I didn't do the work. They did the work. They ate the food. They did all the shit. So I'm not taking credit in that regard. But they did the guidelines I set out for them. And that for me is the fun bit. Whereas like powerlifting coaching, like I wouldn't go down that realm. I just think it's a bit more kind of, there's a hell of a lot more work involved for powerlifting coaching, being completely honest, because you're like looking at video. I do look at technique and all that stuff with my clients, but it's not as in depth, obviously, as a powerlifter would be. And there's a lot more work involved. So I just specialize in the area that I'm much better in and can help much more people in, and it's more efficient for me.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a real maturity there to knowing what your area is, but it also sounds like because there's that interest there.
Yeah.
That's obviously if you've an interest in that, you feel like every person's a project, that's something you are going to excel in. I think you said kind of something interesting there that was like, you weren't really interested in working with, say, your average person that would walk into the gym? Is there a reason that it's, I know you're kind of saying that you're trying to work with people that are a little bit more passionate, but is that you're kind of just looking at it as you want to work with the guy to take him from say a 650 total at maybe 25% body fat to a 700 kilo total at 10 or something like that?
It's naturally you're going to want to work with people who actually give a fuck, you know what I mean? Because then they see you as valuable, which naturally makes you feel good because they're implementing what you say. They're like, you get messages like, holy shit, man, like you've transformed my life, I feel more productive, blah blah blah, and that like feels fucking great. Whereas if you someone who'd be like, I'd be training some owl lad and I'd be like, okay, we need to get your bloods done so your testosterone's that because you're not losing weight, whatever the fuck. And he'd be like, oh no, my testosterone's grand, just ask the wife. Like that kind of shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he would hear shit like that. And I'm just like, you're like fucking brain dead, man. Like you don't value what you're doing here. And it's just, it makes, because you get that imposter syndrome kind of thing then where you're taking on people who don't value what you do.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel like what you're doing isn't valuable. Yeah. And it's like, you don't want that shit. It just makes you feel bad. You know what I mean? Like imagine every client you had was gaining weight and then blaming you for it because they were fucking up. Yeah. That's an example. So I have no issue with taking on beginners to a degree. Like if they have to be familiar with training and barbells and stuff like that. Like loads of guys I work with are not powerlifters or bodybuilders or anything like that. They're just dads, businessmen, blah, blah, blah. And I give them the guidelines of what to do. And I'm not expecting Olympic level training or the shit we do in abs by any means. But I just want execution and a bit of fucking like enthusiasm behind it. You know what I mean? That's what I'm looking for. So that's my kind of barrier to entry is they actually have to give a fuck and want to implement the stuff. And then that's me happy out. That's all I'm looking for.
No, I think that's definitely fair.
Yeah.
And what kind of like are the kind of average pitfalls you see in clients? Like you've obviously worked with a lot of people.
As in like negative personality traits or
not even that, but like what do you see where do you see people going wrong?
What separates people who get really good results from the ones who don't get such good results?
The mind, like it's all great mindset, man. That's what it is. Like there's people that just if I take on someone who's an entrepreneur or runs a business or something like that, or was in the army or whatever it is, they had discipline and order before they come in with me. So they have that foundation in place. They just need a guide to tell them what to do and when to do it. Okay. If you someone that comes to you and something as small as sleep in every morning, or they're unorganized, or they're not punctual, whatever it is, and they're like that, it's like chaos every day. That's the kind of person you don't want to be taking on something like that. And they're the ones that don't get results. It's this victim bullshit of like, oh no, like I had to go out for this meal, or so there's always some excuse is what I'm trying to say. And it's like, I don't mind slipping up. I presume we all have in diets. I've slipped up every now and then. It's human to do that. So I'm not saying to be a fucking robot, but if it's this chasing your tail bullshit of like, you're coming to me for fat loss, you weigh the same for 7 fucking months. And there's no, and I'm kind of like, okay, you're on 1,600 calories. Like what the fuck? I can't lower them anymore. Like what the fuck's going on? Yeah. I wouldn't lower someone's calories that low. But you know what I'm saying? You can smell the bullshit. And it's being told one thing. It's 9 times out of 10 when their shit's out of order in every aspect. It's going to be out of order when they come into coaching. Yeah. So it's you need people who actually take action on a daily basis and implement shit. They look after their work. They look after their health somewhat. They might be fathers. They have responsibilities, basically. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's they don't fuck around. That's kind of what I like, you know? So it's the victim bullshit. And I know it's not a weak mindset because you can develop that as you go, but there has to be a willingness behind that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There has to be some kind of commitment towards what they're setting out to. Like I definitely find that as well. It's like, you know, you would have people who like every single weekend there seems to be some kind of reason why they can't do X, Y, and Z. And it's always kind of chasing the next weekend, waiting for a kind of dry kind of spell. And like a lot of times with kind of people like that, you just have to be a bit real with them and just say, look, you're coming to me for X, but you need to do Y to get it. And if you can't do that, it's kind of wasting your money, kind of paying us, you know?
Yeah. I'm not complaining. If they want to pay and don't do it, like go ahead, you know what I mean? But it's like, don't start blaming me when you're not doing this shit. That's where it's a red flag. Because like I have clients that are obviously, and I've had clients that don't implement, and you just know they're not implement. They don't care. They just pay whatever. But it's like when they start kind of being like, oh, I don't know what's going on here. Like what are you doing wrong? you're just kind of like, motherfucker, like I gave you the shit to do and you're not doing it. And it's like, don't start turning this on me, because like, look at the 1,000 other results over here. And all of a sudden you're this unique snowflake that can't get the results. That's bullshit. You're doing something that's not working yourself. And I've given you the guidelines. You know you're not doing it. Now, sometimes there are elements where their blood work could be fucked. They have really low testosterone, whatever it is, or like they're doing something incorrectly that I mightn't have been clear about, like weighing food after cooking it. That would just increase calories significantly. Just shit like that. You know what I mean? But you weed that stuff out as you go. You know, so it's kind of, so it's not as black and white as they're amazing or they're terrible. There's some kind of, might be a little bit of messing up, or somewhere area we haven't identified the problem yet, you know?
Yeah. And then kind of, I suppose that kind of your own coaching, it kind of leads me into what I'm kind of interested next. We worked with Stan Efferding a lot. And I think I've spoken to you a couple of times about this, but in working with him, how has that kind of influenced your own kind of maybe approach to coaching, or maybe your philosophy as a coach?
It's like, it's boosting my confidence, because like I do a hell of a lot more communication than he does. I'm not bad mouthing them, like there is an element of kind of, it's naturally like anything, man. You know, it's always don't meet your heroes type of thing, because it's always underwhelming. It's kind of like that. Like I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have all these magical things to do, but I was already doing 99% before I even got him as a coach. So when he was just like, oh, add a bit of potatoes, you know, and he was just kind of like, you're paying a lot of money to, now don't get me wrong, there is the accountability factor. When I was dieting, having to answer to him definitely had that pressure there, being like, okay, he's one of the best coaches in the world.
Yeah, I
need to not fuck around and look like an idiot. Like, so it's kind of that. And being a coach too, you obviously have to be a walking example.
Yeah.
But like having him as a coach, like it's an eye-opener in terms of I definitely providing confidence boost for me. I'm definitely providing plenty of value, and way more than a lot of coaches I've been with in the past. So that was a good kind of wake up call there, business wise. But work wise, it's kind of like, or with him, it's kind of like it's just a weekly text. I mean, like, what do I need to do next? And it's just like a thumbs up, stay on track. Like, it's real short and sweet, straight to the point. There's no fluff around him where it's like a 40-minute fucking voice note of, you need to do this and I believe in you and all that kind of PT bullshit. It's just straight to the point. Take this, do this, blah blah blah. You know what I mean? It's nice having him. It's basically like Siri in your pocket, where I don't have to send him a DM and be kind of like, oh, I'm nagging him. Like, I know I'm paying him, so I can ask him questions whenever, and it is nice to have that there. But I will work with other coaches going forward, because I like to go to coaches, dissect everything they do, so I can learn more for myself and have way more value for my own clients, and then learn how they do things and take things in and out, all that kind of stuff, and then move on to the next coach, you know, for nutrition. I'll be with Jay though for fucking years to come.
I think for just from talking to a lot of lads that are particularly involved in bodybuilding, and there does seem to be a value to kind of, I won't say it's I suppose counterintuitive, but there does seem to be a value in kind of trying out different coaches. There's one guy I'd be friends with, Darrell Allen, and I've spoken to him about it a couple of times, just that he's worked with very like Joe Jeffries and the Muscle Mentors and a couple of other guys. They'd be all really good bodybuilding coaches, but he says himself that he's just in maybe the way people approach things, maybe in their communication, maybe in their setup, but he, like you, I suppose, sees a real value in that kind of coaching, gaining that being coached experience to pass on to his clients.
It also does really help as a coach, just seeing how other coaches do their approach as well, because I suppose, as you said there, Ben, probably working with Stan and seeing like maybe the lack of communication that he may have had with you kind of instill the fact that the communication that you give your clients is actually quite good. Would that be correct?
Confidence boost, like,
so like, I suppose it's definitely seen that, like, you know, you're providing a huge amount of value to the people that you're working with, and like, you know, you might have these kind of superstar guys who are at the top and charging like huge amounts of money, but they might not necessarily be providing the same level of value on a certain level, you know. So
Oh, his value is a gold mine, but it's the type of thing where like any coach, the value is in the questions you ask them, you know what I mean? So it's I know his diet like the back of my fucking hand. Like, I know every milligram of every mineral that he recommends, every food group to have, the amount to have, everything like that. And even like, I watched all his Rhino rants probably 10 times each, like obsessive. Like, I find one coach who does something extremely well, and it's like a fucking religion where I like worship the gun for like a year, in this case 5 years, dissect everything I can from the moment, actually implement it, get a phenomenal result myself, and I know it works, and then I bring that shit to my own clients. So there is that element of kind of, it's walking the walk though as well. You can't be a coach, in my opinion, and I've never had a coach.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's fucking ridiculous. Like, you need to have had someone to answer to, so you know what your client goes through.
Yeah.
And has that kind of pressure, and you know all the shit. Like when you're checking in with a client or whatever it is, yeah, like in my opinion, if you're a coach, get a fucking coach if you've never had one. Because it's going to be an eye-opener. Like, it's going to show you how you can run your business more efficiently. That's a big one, and get clients better results, and what it's like to be a client too, so you can put yourself in their shoes.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
As well as what you said, there's like experience in the actual practice. So say for example, like you're following a diet that you're following at the moment, and you know the results that you get. So if you ever kind of prescribe a similar one to a client, you have kind of an idea what they could expect or what they might be going through, because that can be something that you will see. It's like, you know, maybe like, you know, people are trying to get clients to diet and get shredded, but they've never been shredded themselves. Not saying that you can't get somebody shredded while never being shredded yourself, but you can lack maybe a bit of empathy as well, because like you don't really know if they're saying, I find it very hard to stick to my diet, my cravings are through the roof, what can I do? And like, if you've never been in the position yourself, it's very hard for you to say.
Yeah, man, 100%. Yeah. They're just advisors then. They're not mentors. Like, it's like a mentor is someone who's been where you want to go. And an advisor is like someone who's kind of like, oh, I've read this, you should give this a go. But they've never actually done it themselves. I always say it's like, you never take financial advice from a homeless person. Or I think Poliquin said, it was the other day, I had a friend saying this, where it's like, never take advice from a virgin sex therapist or something like that. And I was like, it's so true. Like, they have to have been in the position that you want to be in and actually have done it. And then there's a bit of kind of I don't know, real work behind it then, you know.
Skin in the game.
No, I suppose that just kind of maybe leads us to a little bit you were saying there about coaches needing to have the experience. So you've gone from being in the last year being Big Ben, 140 kilos, behemoth, walking American fridge freezer, full stack, big guy, to being the prettiest, leanest, jackedest dad in Ireland in the next couple of weeks. So the poster boy of the anti-dad bod movement. So kind of talk us through that, I suppose. Talk us what got you to maybe to 140 kilos. I don't know if you want to talk food, drugs, diet, whatever. What got you to the point of being like, okay, I have to, like, I'm getting shredded, I'm getting lean, because you've made this kind of esoteric jump that most people could probably maybe not base off, but they could look at you kind of being, okay, he's a very high level power lifter. That actually increased their performance after a fat loss phase. Now I know, Shane, you've had a very similar experience recently, where Shane lost like 10 kilos and he's looking pretty damn lean and juicy. So you've both kind of undergone that. I haven't. I'm still a mess at 125, but we'll leave that out. But then what got you to that point of being, okay, this is something I can still perform? So let's work back to start.
So it would, like, the last time I dieted before this diet would have been like 4 or 5 years ago. And we were living in Drogheda and all, and I was training with Eamon, and then I went to Abs and went to Jake and training Boynside and all. And the guys that were around were a hell of a lot bigger than me, and obviously lifting more weight. You know, like Eamon's like fucking big dude, he's like 180, and Jake's like 150. So I was like, okay, if I want to compete with these boys, I got to gain some fucking weight. But I, at the same time, was on no drugs for like the last 2 years, maybe just a bit of TRT here and there. And because the whole baby thing, when you take steroids, is obviously a fertility side effect. I remember talking to you in fucking Drogheda about it, and that's what happened. That is a side effect. It's easily fixed when you have the plan in place of how to fix it. But I'm talking, I'd say myself, Bonnie way more than me, 80%, 90% of it, thousands of hours researching this sort of how to solve the whole fertility thing. And then it was fixed in 2 or 3 months. So it's like there is an outcome for anyone that takes steroids and is worried about that or caught in that trap. Send me a message or whatever, and I can explain exactly how to do it. But obviously when testosterone's low and I was trying to gain weight and get bigger as well, I was like, fuck it, let's just eat some fucking food and get heavy and see what happens. So naturally you're gonna put on more fat, and the fatter you get, the fatter you get. You know what I mean?
Yep.
When you keep bulking, it gets easier to get fatter. You don't just keep gaining muscle. You know what I mean? Yep. I wish, but so the combination of that's what caused the fat gain to get pretty accelerated. And just shit choice of foods and all as well, man. It's something like fucking massive breakfast rolls. There's nothing wrong with the breakfast roll, but I mean, there was no tracking of calories other than just protein, and down in liters of milk, all this kind of stuff, and just getting fat and heavy and bloated. And my numbers weren't really budging that much. Like my deadlift wasn't really moving, my bench wasn't moving, funny enough. And squat went up a bit because they have that big bloat belly. You can hit the hole harder you come up. But I hit up one, I think it was 143 kilos before I squatted. We were weighing in, like doing a joke weigh-in before the lockdown properly started. We had like a mini joke meet type of thing.
Yeah.
I squatted 322 that day, and I was like, oh, this is brilliant. I got heavier of a bigger squat, so I was justifying it. Stayed that heavy for a while. Like I was never like sloppy fat, but I was kind of like beefy, you know what I mean? And
I think that's one thing we actually need to make clear is you were never fucking fat. I suppose it's just that you were a solid 143 kilos. You were 143 kilos.
Beefy, like a prop back in the fucking early 2000s, like that kind of
thick ass by 143 kilos.
And with the low drugs, that was me trying to compensate because I wasn't on drugs. I was competing against guys who were on heavy cycles. I was like, what can I do other than eat more food and try and sleep more, you know?
Yeah.
And then also the big wake up call was, okay, I'm going to be an online coach now, because during lockdown I was doing in-person PT. I was so fat then, or like beefy. Then I was like, okay, if I'm getting people in shape, I can't be a fat cunt being like, this is how you get lean. I'm a big bloated fucking high blood pressure whale. It's just ridiculous. You know what I mean? Yeah. So then I was like, okay, I need to sort this shit the fuck out. If I'm trying to walk the walk, I need to look like I do it too. So then I started it, I think, after the comp there was that King of the Deadlifts. I think it was around then. And I remember sitting down at weigh-ins, or not weigh-ins, at the comp. And I was looking at my fucking legs in the singlet or something. And like my thighs and my lower belly fat were like swallowing my fucking dick or something. But I was like sitting down in the singlet. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, I was like, this hasn't happened before. And that, I actually never said that until now. That was my like realization of like, okay, I'm getting too heavy now. And if I stay on this track, I'm just going to keep getting heavier and not be happy with how I look. My health's obviously going to be shit, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So then after that King of the Deadlift, I was like, fuck this, I'm dieting. And then that was my wake-up call. It was just kind of, I was getting too heavy, felt like shit, bloated. Family were calling me a fat cunt every 2 days, slagging me like. And then that kind of gave me a bit of motivation to get going. So then 6 months of dieting then, or maybe 7. And I got down to 115. And I was doing it slowly. I know I could have come off quicker, but like I prefer to retain as much muscle as I can. You know yourself, just slower the better if possible, if you can sustainably do it. It's the length of a diet where people can't stick to it 9 times out of 10. So they want to do it quick. So I was like, fuck it, I'm in this for the long haul, I'll just stick with it. Got down to 115, got really lean again, and my lifts didn't budge, because I think what happened there from my experience was that I did it slowly. That was the big takeaway. I didn't just rush the diet. If you're 140 and you but just drop all your weight really quick, like 20 pounds or 20 pounds in like less than a month or something, you know what I mean? Yeah. That's pretty aggressive, especially without drugs. That's very fucking aggressive. That's a big pitfall, and that tends to screw people up. And then they're like, oh, my strength's gone. It's like, yeah, no shit. Like, you just rushed it. So do it slowly. Obviously give a shit about everything outside of the gym. That's a massive lesson. Like, not just drugs. Everyone's like, oh, steroids is the easy answer. It's like, I write down how many hours of sleep I got every single day on my phone on my morning weigh-in. Like, I have like months of that on my notes section of my phone where I just know exactly what I'm doing. Yeah. So I stay on top of that shit the same way I would with my clients. And just bringing in better habits, but it's doing it slowly, eating the best quality foods you can. I know flexible dieting and coaches love all that crap, but it's like, at the end of the day, I want to eat the most nutrient dense food I can, and make sure my blood work's okay, wearing a CPAP if I'm snoring, like all these things, the stuff Stan recommends, but like that is the shit after him doing this stuff for like 30 years and being top level and not having good genetics at all. Like that's who you want to listen to, you know what I mean? And I did everything he said to a T, nice and slowly, shred away, and maintained all my strength. And now I'm back in the rebound where I'm 117 or 118 in the morning, so I'm only up 3 kilos.
Yeah.
But obviously the Soviet supplements are back in the mix again. But I'm hitting PBs, and I was talking to Shane before this, because a big thing powerlifters do is they're like, oh, I need to lose some weight for comp, and they start dieting into comp. And it's like, don't do that. Like,
terrible idea. Yeah.
Fucking so retired, especially in the last month. Like, if you're gonna diet, stop it at least worst case 4 weeks out. That's when you stop a diet and maybe do a water cut. But it's the calorie deficit going into a competition. That's what chews up people's strength, you know?
Yeah, it kind of freaks me out when you're hearing somebody that's done like maybe they're on their first or second meet and they're planning on doing like a 6 or 7 kilo cut to get down to like 85 kilos or 90 kilos, and you're like, Jesus, Mary and fucking Joseph, like what's the...
Especially young lads, like fucking grow, like get big. You know, I was talking to a young lad the other day, and he was asking me about he didn't want to do side laterals because he was in fear of going up a weight class by having too much like hypertrophy in his delts. I was like, man, I was like, you're fucking worrying about. I was like, stop trying to stay in a weight class. Like, get fucking bigger. That's the whole point of this shit, is to get as big and strong as you can while maintaining a good physique. That's the other little bit that I didn't do for a long time. But it's just like, it's like reverse bodybuilding. It's the opposite. Like you diet after the competition. You take the fat off then, and you grow into the comp. It's the exact same thing.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most logical approach. Like Shane probably followed very similar suit there. Like he just dropped 10 kilos and now he's going to come into Series 7. Shane, the 110s, I think, is it?
110s. Sub 90s. That's why I said to Brian as well. I said like I want to lose X amount of weight, but I want to make sure that like I have as much training time as possible before the meet, that I'm not dieting. Like, you know, I made the decision like in March to diet for a competition in August. Like, you're better off just being like planned ahead of time and taking off that, even that little bit of psychological stress. You're going to have enough coming into a peak for a competition, and like probably going to want the extra calories as well if you're going to be like, the peak is when most people pick up any kind of niggles that they will have. Like, and if you're in a deficit and you have niggles, like that's obviously not going to make the situation any better.
Yeah, it's not fun. No,
it's you're just headed for a bad time. So then, kind of like when you're talking about kind of going forward, is there kind of like particular goals you have in terms of powerlifting, bodybuilding,
life
that you feel like you...
powerlifting, it would be like, I would want 1,000 kilo total eventually, like, you know. See, there's no ceiling with me on shit. Like, I know people have goals to go towards, and I do have like micro and macro goals and that kind of stuff. But like, there's things I would thought of like 10 years ago that are like, thought I never would have done, but been like, you see Ronnie Coleman like deadlifting 8 plates, and I think that's like 340 kilos or something like that. And I was like, whoa, like I've done that for 4 now. I've already done that. You know what I mean? So when I was a kid, I'd be watching that, and I'd be there at like 120 and being like, holy fuck, like how do they do this? And obviously there's all the other stuff going on in the background, but how it works for me, man, there's no real ceiling. It's just seeing where I end up, and just because I love it. I love the whole process of it. I find the fun in the process rather than the end goal. When you hit the goal, you know yourself, it's the most underwhelming. It's fun for a second, but it's just underwhelming. You're like, what's the next thing to do? So the fun thing is the preparation, and a lot of people tend to forget. That's why powerlifters, like 90% of them, drop off after 2 years. It's if they try and make this big identity fucking shift of like, I'm this powerlifter and I'll die for powerlifting. 2 years later, they're just fucking gone. And it's just like, you need to actually love lifting and going to the gym and eating well. And powerlifting is just like a side project that complements that, you know. Same with bodybuilding. So bodybuilding, I wouldn't excel in it, I don't think, but it would be, or maybe, I don't know, but it would be, I've already spoke to you, but I just can't wrap my head around the whole fake tan and the thong. And like, I think the prep, like, I get that, like, that's fun. And the whole animal pack, like black and white, like, I'm a bodybuilder, like, I like that shit. But I mean, I just think like tensing at people on stage, I just feel it weird, like, you know.
I think you need to shut up and just give the people what they want. I think you need to tan up, get in the fucking thong, and just get on with it. All right, stop being so selfish. I think as well, though, like what I find is funny, like if you do talk to most, like you are obviously a high level powerlifter, but if you talk to most people that are high level athletes in any sport, be it fucking 10-pin bowling or darts or golf or underwater basket weaving or powerlifting or whatever. Like everybody that I've spoken to that's at a high level, they all kind of talk almost universally about the process, or at least they love training. They love being in the depths of it, and that competition is just something they do.
Exactly.
And that it's very rarely that you'll hear someone say, I love competing. Or that moment where you stand up with the bar, it's like, yeah, that's great, but it's very, very rarely that's what gets them up in the morning. That's what pushes them to eat. That's what makes them go to bed an hour earlier than they want to, or any of these kind of things. So I think one thing, if people can take away from you, I suppose it's that kind of mindset of just kind of being very much bought into the process, because it does, just from talking to you, you are very much bought into the, I won't say like the lifestyle, but the basic thing of tracking your food, being aware of how much you eat. But then the kind of the advanced stuff as well, that I suppose we haven't really spoken a lot about maybe, but I know you get a lot of slack for watching your electrolytes and your sodium and all these things. The people might take as being, oh sure, what's the point, or it's a bit anal, but I suppose you're a walking representation of, if you do delve into that depth and that detail, that there is merit to it.
No, I'm inherently a lazy fuck. You can ask Bonnie that. Like, all I do is the dishes. Like, that's basically it. And so it's not, what it is habits and structure to your day. That's all it is. I don't wake up and go, I need to measure out my salt like a mad scientist. Like, it's not like that at all. It's I know just to salt all my meals and have a little bit of salt in my intra workout, and that's job done, because I've had that habit for so long. It's like brushing your teeth. When you're a kid, you fucking hate doing it, and your parents like, go brush your teeth. Did you brush your teeth? All that kind of shit. And then it gets to the point where, like, when you don't brush your teeth, you feel like a scumbag, and then you want to go and do it. So it's just habits and routine. And anyone that struggles with kind of getting in shape or trying to get stronger, anything like that, it is important, in my opinion, to be anal at the get-go until the habit is formed. And then it's just a second thought. So when some people go, oh, Ben's crazy, so anal about this and that and all this kind of shit, I don't even think about it. I just have it. It's like built in there where I just do it. Where I'm listening to an audiobook making my breakfast, or like doing the dish. I'm not thinking, I'm listening to the audiobook. I'm not being like, how much salt do I need to have, and freaking out about that kind of shit, you know?
You're just,
when you know how much to have, it's job done then, you know?
You're just on clockwork, I suppose, really, at this stage. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like the picture behind you with the discipline equals freedom. You know, having the level of kind of structure and discipline into your day-to-day does create a lot of those kind of freedoms down the line, as like, you know, if you're really structured with your nutrition, your training, your sleep, all that kind of stuff, that's going to give you the freedom to be like way more confident with like walking on the beach, going into the gym, lifting more weight than anybody else, and like, you know, having better kind of health later on down the line as well. So and that's the kind of stuff that, like, as you mentioned there, like, people will say to you, geez, you're so routine, you're so disciplined. It's like, we don't really feel too disciplined. It's more so that it's habit at this stage, you know. It's like it comes kind of second nature to you after a while. It does take a bit more kind of focus at the start, but like after that, it's plain sailing.
And you have to find what you love. That's the big thing. Stan always says the best diet and the best plan is the one you'll stick to. And everyone tends to, so when they see what I do or what you guys may do, they might think we're fucking crazy monks that just live in a fucking house all day and do nothing else. Whereas, like, we love to do what we're doing, so it's fun. It's like a golfer playing golf, a tennis player playing tennis, the exact same thing. And it's you have to love what you're doing first. And if that's not there from the get-go, then it's a chore. You know what I mean? Like, if I had to go do fucking an accountancy exam or something like that and crunch numbers all day, that would make, I'd blow my fucking brains out. I'd hate that. That wouldn't be fun for me. But some people, they love that. You know what I mean? So it's finding what you love and having something that you can stick to is the most important thing. You know?
Yeah, I think that's a key bit of takeaway there. Yeah. Especially, I suppose, where for our parents' age, the pursuing a career and something you actually really enjoy was nearly unheard of. It was like, no, you're going to be out shoveling shit, or you're going to be working in an office, or you're going, you know, whatever the fuck. But
the safety bullshit.
Whereas now, like, I mean, I like, you're both coaches, and I'm kind of going more into academia, but like just the general way you can go, like you can go towards, like, if you're somebody that wants to work with people, or you want to work with things, you can still do it within the realm that we work in. Like you're that one, that idea of having a job for life is kind of gone, thankfully. That it's, you know, for somebody, some 17 or 18, 19-year-old, or somebody just coming out of a degree, their options are endless.
Find something exciting, like, you know what I mean? Like, if it's like, that's why I went to college for like 2 weeks, and then I just went to McDonald's every day for a coffee with my mate, and my mom was like, oh, he's in college, he's doing good. I hated it. Like, I didn't enjoy going. It wasn't for me. Neither was school. Like 200 points in the leaving, and it's like, because there was no excitement behind it, there was no gamifying it, there was no thrill to want to get up. Now, even for comp, when I'm trying to get like 8 or 9 hours of sleep, I wake up like 2 hours before my alarm naturally. I'm like, no, I actually have to go back to sleep. Like, it's become that. It's gone the other way. Whereas before, I would sleep in when I wasn't doing what I loved. You know what I mean? So it's find what you love to do and then build upon that, basically, is the big one. 100%.
So then, I suppose, just to finish up, one thing I suppose I was kind of interested in, because I've a couple of friends that are actually having kids soon and stuff like that. I don't know, is they're kind of, it might, I don't know if we want to throw this in or not. I suppose maybe just talk about how you see that kind of affecting, or maybe kind of mindset wise, what ways that kind of coming in. Because I suppose it's like, I suppose being a dad is, I suppose it's exciting and it's new and it's nerve-wracking and all of these kind of things happening at once. So how is that kind of playing into your training, your life and stuff now?
Look, I've set up the environment now where, obviously I was talking to Shane at the beginning, saying I'm working from home now and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, it's just like, if you love what you're doing with, like, say, lifting and stuff like that, and you have something as heavy as a baby coming, which is a massive responsibility. You have to shape your environment to make it still sustainable. So if I was working like a 9-to-5 job and going out for drinks after work and then trying to powerlift while being a dad, like, good luck. I'd see the kid for 1 hour and have shitty sessions in the gym. But it's kind of like, it's all environment based. So it's like, I don't know yet, I don't have the baby, so I can't, I'm just,
I know.
But it's when he or she pops out, it'll be like, I know I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, you know, that's not going to change, like, not a fucking chance. It's like, not like for the sake of like, I'm going to lift, it's more important than the baby. Not at all. The baby and the work take priority every time. Powerlifting's a fucking hobby, you know what I mean? It's not I don't think I'm going to die for it, like, but it's well, I do a lot of things that might lead to maybe an unhealthy approach to it. But you know what I mean? It's setting up the right environment so you can still stick to what you love to do. Because like, look this way, if you again love to powerlift or love to lift or whatever it is, and you're having a baby, and then all of a sudden you just give up everything you love because you have the baby, or justify it. It could be anything. You could be in a relationship with some toxic asshole who's like, oh, they don't like me going to the gym, or they don't like me being in shape, so I'm going to cater to their needs or some bullshit. Don't be with a dickhead like that. That's the first thing. But your association then with the baby, when the baby comes out, will be resentment, because you look at the baby as the baby took away the thing I love to do. So subconsciously you're gonna have this like blame. You know what I mean? So I think it's important, like, obviously plan your shit in advance, and that's what I'm doing now. So hopefully it works. But it's being prepared and having an environment set up so it allows the success. There's a really good book called Why Willpower Doesn't Work. And the whole premise of it is environment. So if you're around shitty people, if you hang, even something as like, if you hang around with some of the 5 people you hang around with, we all know that's huge. Like, if you hang around an obese person, the odds of you being obese is going to go up significantly. Shit like that. And I'm not saying just get rid of your friends if they're obese. It's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying to be aware of that shit, and that, like, it's way easier to be dragged down than to lift everyone up around you. And if you're around that toxic shit where people, it's like limiting self-belief, where it's like, oh, you can only make this much money, or have this steady job, or this is the way you have to live. If you're around that fucking bullshit, like, that's your story then, and you're going to be attached to that, you know? So it's important to kind of keep an eye on who you're around, is so fucking important, and the environment you create that will then allow the success. Like, have a clean house, clean up your shit. Jordan Peterson always says, keep your shit in order. And then everything else is just easy. If everything's chaotic at home, it's going to be chaotic in every other avenue of your life, you know?
Yeah, I think there is definitely a very good takeaway from or one key thing that he says is that set your world in order before you go giving advice or before you try and act in the world.
Yeah.
And I think that's, I don't know, I think you'd be a big fan of a lot of the stuff he'd kind of put out as well.
Yeah. I've read it like 5 times now. So
yeah. That's deadly, Ben. That's kind of everything that we were kind of looking to go through with you. We might get you back on in 9 months' time when she or he kind of comes out.
Yeah.
We'll check in. The beard will be gone grey, and
you'll be a big fat fuck again. Yeah, everything goes to shit. Like fuck powerlifting. Yeah. Talking about
that. Sweet, Ben. Do you want to tell people at home where they can find you if they want to hear more from you and more about your coaching services?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, just Ben Craughwell, and website as well as the Better Man Project. You can look that up too if you need help with anything. A lot of the guys in this podcast are originally powerlifters, so it's I do have like a powerlifting kind of optimization package, but I don't really promote as much. But if you need help with anything, when you tidy shit up outside of the gym, your progress in the gym will skyrocket big time. You know what I mean? So if you find yourself caught in that trap, you know yourself, lads, when you tidy up all the shit, your sleep, your nutrition, all that stuff, everything else just amplifies. So if you need a hand, feel free to reach out. Any questions as well, I'll happily answer them.
Perfect, unreal. And we'll get Ben to give us his details so we can leave them in the description box. Okay, so thanks very much, Ben, for coming on. Hopefully we'll get you on again in the future. And yeah,
absolutely, it's a pleasure.
Take care.